My name is Sydni Williams, and I'm going to be teaching on the topic of the Very Hungry Caterpillar to help teach standards of reading literature, specifically standard 1-3, which is describing characters, settings, and major events in a story using the key details. To start this lesson and grab the class's attention, I will be showing pictures of the Very Hungry Caterpillar, asking them if they've ever seen a caterpillar before, if they've ever read the book before, and hoping that a few may have or that they may not have, so this will be new for them. It'll be me asking a few questions and showing them pictures of caterpillars and the Very Hungry Caterpillar to get their attention and bring them all together. Okay, so what do you know? Before we read the story, I want to know what you guys know about a story. What are characters? What's a setting? Does anybody know what main events are? Is there anything else that anybody wants to ask about what different parts of a story are? Does anybody know any other terms that I might not have mentioned? Because there are a few others, but some are more advanced. Okay, well, we're going to discuss all of these topics into more detail, but I wanted to see what you guys know first. So this is the book that we're going to read, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. The author is Eric Carle, and it was published in 1969, which is 50 years ago. So at this time is when I would read the book. And then after reading, I'm going through these questions. So what was the book about? What are the key things that we need to remember after we read this story? What did you learn, and what did you notice when we were reading? Is that what you thought that this book was going to be about? Would you read this book again? All of these questions are important when we are reading and then after we're reading to consider, because they help us determine what a good book is, and they help us determine what we've learned from the book. So all of these are important while we're reading. Alright, so we need to find out what our key ideas from the story are. Who was in the story? What were they doing? When did this story occur? Where did the story occur? Why did the events in the story happen? And how did these events happen? All of these questions are pretty specific to this story, and they help us find a main idea to summarize what happened during this story. And how we're going to do this is we're going to use the 5 W's worksheet that I've given to everyone in the class. And we're going to go through it as a class so that we can understand what we're doing. The 5 W's and H worksheet, which is who, what, when, where, why, and how. These help us to figure out the different key points throughout the story. As we might have missed them, overlooked them, they help them bring them back and put them onto one page. Now this page is going to be very important later, so I want to make sure that you fill it out very detailed. You're going to do this on your own, but you're going to be given the opportunity to check back later with a partner when we do another assignment. So for now, we're going to do this as a class. So I want to go through each one and see what you guys have to say. So for the first one is going to be who. Well, as we're thinking, if anybody has any ideas, that's great. And then I'm going to help summarize what we come up with. So for who, I'd probably say something like the caterpillar. That's our main person or character in this story. That's our who. And then what, when, where, why, and how. We're also going to fill all these out as a class. So we're going to try going to turn these 5 W's that we just worked on into story words. So words that we hear about when we describe a story. So what is one of the 5 W's converted into a story word? Anyone have any ideas? Well, that's okay, because some of the example story words are characters, climax, and events. So maybe using characters, how can we convert that from the 5 W's? We could use who, because characters are typically people. So who is within a story would represent our characters. So when we're doing this, I'm going to pass out a worksheet that's called our story map. Our story map is going to help us to place what we read into bubbles that are using story words. So since we did the 5 W's worksheet as a class, I want you to use that and independently fill out the story map. The story map has characters, settings, and events from the story. You need to put your name and the title at the top. Alright, now everybody should be done with their story map. So by now we're going to come together as a class and we're going to go over what you guys gathered on your own. As you should have looked through with your partner to see what they did and make sure you did yours correctly. Now we're going to come together and make sure everybody's right. As in, what did you guys say for the character, setting, and event on your story map? I'm going to fill them in here so we can all know what everybody's thinking throughout the story. Character would be probably the who, so the caterpillar. And the setting would be the where, as in where this happened, like outside or in nature. And then the event, well, caterpillar was hungry, or the caterpillar ate lots of food. That's probably going to be our what. Alright, now at the end of this lesson, I would ask the class, what did we learn? So to close this up and sum it up, I would make sure that everybody's worksheets, the 5 W's and the story map were done and complete correctly. I would collect them so that I could make sure that they were done and pass them back out later. And I would ask them what they learned, or make sure that they understand what they learned by asking questions and making sure to re-summarize what we just learned to make sure that they can remember.